Hello, today is Sunday, June 26th, 2022. Welcome to Sunday Mornings at MABA. Good morning, Master, Venerables, friends. I'm Xianhuan Francesca, one of the lay teachers here at MABA. I'm a wordsmith by trade, which is a skilled user of words. It serves me well as a writer, an editor, and a lay teacher. Our main topic this spring has been Dharma for difficult times. How we can use the Dharma to help us when we're suffering. Master Jiru tells us we don't have to suffer. And he's right, it's our choice, as are some things in life. When times are difficult, sometimes a wholesome path becomes difficult as well. Yes? I'll repeat that. When times are difficult, sometimes a wholesome path becomes difficult as well. When that happens, we're out of sorts, questioning everything. What do we do? Who do we talk to? Where do we go? We start searching. We're looking for understanding, for acceptance, for guidance and support along the path, as one of our chants says. We find support in a fellowship of like-minded beings. Today I'm going to talk about why Buddha considered Sangha to be supreme. I'll be talking about the 5 matted hair ascetics who became the first Sangha with the Buddha. Talk about the triple gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and that importance. Why the Sangha is so important. It's part of the triple gem. I'll discuss monastic and lay Sanghas and their mutual dependence on each other. I'll also talk about the significance and the purpose of the Sangha, as well as Mahapajapati Gautami, who was the Buddha's foster mother, stepmother, aunt, and the first lay woman who became ordained as a monastic. And there are more topics on Sangha, but this will give you a nice overview. To begin, what is Sangha? The Pali definition is community, group, or assembly, association. In the secular world, a Sangha could be any group of people coming together and doing the same thing in a spirit of mutual support and benefit. It sounds familiar, doesn't it? In that respect, there are many kinds of Sanghas in the world. You might think of a Sangha as a congregation or parish, a team or a school, a tribe or a nation, a state, a country, our planet. Our planet is the largest Sangha we have right now that we take care of. And also home, where we go when we're tired and we need to recharge our batteries. It's where we find our power cables and our pillow, our toothbrush, and most importantly, our loved ones. We are family. They support us, and we support them on our respective journeys. And as you see, Sanghas are comprised of people, not buildings or things. Triple gem. Buddhists take refuge and find support in the Sangha. The third jewel in the 3 jewels, the triple gem, Tiratana, Triratna, Sanbao. We take refuge in the triple gem of Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, Fo, Fa, Sam. in Six Pathways to Happiness, Xianhuan defines Buddha as the inspiration of someone enlightened, Dharma as the teachings to attain liberation, and the Sangha as the community of monks and lay people, the community dedicated to this goal. Let's move on to the first Sangha. Before Siddhartha's enlightenment, Siddhartha Gautama, that was Prince Siddhartha, he practiced in the forest with 5 other ascetic monks. So they were forest monks. An ascetic is someone who practices extreme self-discipline, abstaining from all types of indulgences. Some forest monks, you may find, wear tree bark, just as a sign of humility and to release themselves from any kind of sensual feelings. I digress. 5 years after having rejected the extreme poverty, the extreme wealth of his upbringing, Prince Siddhartha left the woods when he realized that extreme poverty was also not the way to awakening. When his comrades commented that he was going soft, oh, look, Gautami, he's going to take more than a sip of water and a grain of rice for food every day. Siddhartha replied that were he to become awakened, he would return and share his knowledge with them. When Siddhartha became awakened and decided to teach, the now Buddha kept his word. At this point, only the Dhamma existed and Buddha. When he became enlightened, Gautama went back to the 2 teachers that he had left, and only to find that they were dead. They had passed. He saw a man on the road on his way back to the forest. The man said, "It's okay." When the Buddha finally arrived, his 5 ascetic friends noticed something very different about him. They saw him radiant. He was radiant. There was something. They made a seat for him, and he sat down. They exchanged pleasantries. And then Buddha gave his first sermon to them, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the putting into motion the wheel of Dharma. One by one, they all were awakened and became his disciples, the first Sangha. There are 2 main types of Sangha in Buddhism, monastic and lay, further broken down by gender. Male monastics are known as bhikkhus or bhikshus. Female monastics are known as bhikkhuni or bhikshuni. The lay men are known as upasakas, literally meaning almsmen, and female lay people are known as upasikas, almswomen. And they are the Sangha of the Blessed One's disciples, worthy of gifts, worthy of hospitality, worthy of offerings, worthy of respect, the incomparable field of merit for the world, AN 1112. And how did the Sangha come about? It came about because of a mutual dependency. When the rules for the Buddhist Sanghas were written down in the Vinaya, Pitaka. When I was first studying Buddhism, when I first came to Buddhism 10, 12 years ago, I started reading about Buddhists and who they were. And I read the first book, the part 1 of the monastic code, 800 pages. It was fascinating. And I learned about the word allowable, that monks should have things which are allowable by their practice. And I didn't have quite a good handle on how MABA runs things. You start with a new temple, church, and you're shy. So many, many times I've embarrassed myself. And in front of the monastics. And one time was when we were doing the walk to feed the hungry, and Bhikkhu Bodhi joined us under the arch in St. Louis. I walked with Venerable Kangxi, and I hope she doesn't remember this. I was interested in bringing food for a potluck lunch, but I didn't know what to do. So I asked her if I needed to make food allowable. She said it wasn't necessary. Very kind. One of my good teachers. There are 8 types of the Arya Sangha, the Sangha of the noble ones, and these are both lay and monastics. The Sangha of the Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well. They've become stream enterers. They've practiced straightforwardly. They're once returners. They've practiced methodically. They're non-returners. Who've practiced masterfully, they've become arahants. And as we are on our path to stream entry, we first begin on the path to stream entry. As we experience the fruit of stream entry, we move on to the path of being a once returner. As we experience that fruit, we're on the path to being a non-returner. And as we experience the fruit, we move on to the path of arahantship, to our awakening. We'll return to this in just a minute. I wanted to give you a little background information before I start this next section. King Suddhodana married 2 sisters, Queen Maya Devi and Queen Mahaprajapati. Queen Maya was the older sister, and she gave birth to Siddhartha, who would become the Buddha. She died about a week after giving birth. Queen Mahaprajapati had just given birth to her son Nanda. She gave Nanda to a wet nurse, and she took Siddhartha to her breast and suckled him and raised him as her own, alongside her son Nanda. And now we move into the female ordination, the request, the admission, and subsequent establishment of the first female monastics and Sangha. Again, 10 years ago, I don't know who to ask stupid questions to. This time I asked Xianhuan Danyeye. My big question: do I have to come back as a man to become enlightened? He said no. That filled my heart. To this day, 10 years later, it fills my heart. So I understand this. In AN 851, we talk about Mahaprajapati Gautami's enlightening. After 5 years after Buddha became awakened, King Suddhodana, his father, died. At that point, Queen Mahaprajapati asked the Buddha for nun's order. May we have a nun's order? It would be good if we had nuns going forth as well. He turned her down 3 times. It would be good, Lord, if a woman might obtain the going forth from the home life into homelessness and the Tathagata's doctrine and discipline. Back then it wasn't known as Dhamma and Vinaya, doctrine and discipline. And Buddha said, enough, Gautami. Don't advocate a woman's going forth from the home life into homelessness in the Tathagata's doctrine and discipline. She was discouraged, but not deterred. She shaved her head, donned robes, and with 500 other women who had also shaved their heads and donned robes, they walked 200 miles from Kapilavatthu to Vesali. Traveling stage by stage, she arrived at Vesali and went to the Great Wood, the hall with the peaked roof. Then Mahapajapati Gotami stood crying outside the gate, her feet swollen, her limbs covered with dust, miserable and sad, with tearful face. From Life of the Buddha, Ananda respectfully questioned the Buddha. Lord, are women capable of realizing the various stages of sainthood as nuns? Stream enterer, once returner, non-returner, arahantship. They are, Ananda, said the Buddha. If that is so, Lord, then it would be good if women could be ordained as nuns. If Ananda, Mahapajapati Gotami, would accept the 8 conditions, it would be regarded that she has been, If Mahapajapati Gotami would accept the 8 conditions, it would be regarded that she has been ordained already as a nun. Ananda took these 8 rules, the Garudhamma, to Mahapajapati. Gotami, if you accept these 8 rules of respect, that will be your acceptance. And he repeated these 8 rules. You can skim them if you'd like. And Mahapajapati replied, Venerable Ananda, just as if a young woman or man, fond of ornamentation, with bathed head, having been given a garland of lotuses or jasmine or scented creepers, having accepted it in both hands, were to place it on her head. In the same way, I accept the 8 rules of respect, never to transgress them as long as I live. It's said she lived 120 years. The 500 women who had traveled with her also ordained, and they also became awakened. Thus began the Sangha of nuns. In this image, these are Mahayana tradition, female monastics who are practicing. The reason for Buddha's hesitancy of accepting the request for women going forth is not because they weren't capable of becoming enlightened. Instead, it is with this recognition that women are the equal of men in terms of spiritual attainment that made the female order possible. Buddha understood and allowed that what would become known as Buddhism would evolve and adapt to the cultures into which it was introduced. There are many groups and many traditions. This Ananda said to Buddha one day, that Sangha, this is half of the holy life, Lord. Admirable friendship, admirable companionship, admirable camaraderie. The Buddha told Ananda, admirable friendship, admirable companionship, admirable camaraderie is actually the whole of the holy life. When a monk has admirable people as friends, companions, and comrades, he can be expected to develop and pursue the Noble Eightfold Path. Ituvataka 107. Monks, householders are very helpful to you as they provide you with the requisites of robes, alms food, lodgings, and medicine. And you monks are very helpful to householders as you teach them the Dharma, admirable in the beginning, admirable in the middle, and admirable in the end, as you expound the holy life, both in its particulars and in its essence, entirely complete, surpassingly pure. In this way, the holy life is lived in mutual dependence for the purpose of crossing over the flood, for making a right end to suffering and stress. It's a mutual dependence. Historically, monastics have not been allowed to accept money or even to barter and trade for goods. They lived in what Thanissaro Bhikkhu calls an economy of gifts. He says that monastics teach out of compassion what should be taught. Householders, that's us, lay people, give what they have to spare and would like to share. Thanissaro says, you give because giving is good for the heart, and because the survival of the Dhamma as a living principle depends on daily acts of generosity. Depending on the practice and their location, some monastics go into the lay community for their daily food while on alms rounds. Other groups receive food at their temple or monastery. Here is a group of Theravadan monastics in Asia on alms rounds. The Buddha laid down a lot of rules for his monks, for his disciples, as some of them were suggested by the laity. They wanted a certain picture of their monastics to be upright at all times, to be wholesome at all times. So the Buddha told his disciples on alms rounds, you don't have preference. You go to all the houses, rich or poor. You don't hide your food under your rice in the hopes of getting better food. Things like that. With the Sangha and the mutual support, growth can only be expected. The alms bowl represents dependence on others. The monastics see this every day. And the lay people living in a monetary economy see the value in Sangha, in this mutual dependence. Monastics are careful stewards of the gifts they receive. Nothing goes to waste. King Bimbisara, among others, gave land to the Buddha, a bamboo grove, so they could meditate and rest and build a temple. Everybody gives according to their means. At MABA, lay donations might go to seeds, plants, and trees to help the monastics raise their own food, to be more self-sufficient. As we take refuge in the Sangha, we have trust and faith that this is true and correct. Xianhuan, Volume 2, Six Pathways to Happiness. Buddhism trusts that we have the capacity and the ability to know the truth for ourselves. Without this capacity, how would we be able to progress in training our mind? A few weeks ago, Venerable Kanka talked to us, and she told us about taking refuge in the Sangha, that we would be practicing the good way, the straight way, the true way to Nibbana, the proper way. And as such, being worthy of gifts, hospitality, offerings, reverential salutation, and being the unsurpassed field of merit for the world. I won't go into these in detail, but you get the idea. In one of our DPBS classes, the teacher said that the Buddha told us that the Buddha said he would not die until he had disciples who were monks and nuns, laymen and laywomen, who could teach Dhamma and establish it, expound it, analyze it, make it clear. At MABA, we work to do that. In our DPBS classes, I gained so much knowledge about Buddhism. I gained confidence as a lay teacher. If you're interested in becoming a lay teacher, absolutely your first step is to go through this DPBS program. Absolutely worthwhile. I am definitely a better teacher because of MABA and these DPBS classes. We have a MABA Friends book. And you can find it on our website in a PDF or in a hard copy at MABA in the Blue Lotus House. And in the preface, I wrote about finding the path to our authentic selves. The coming together of people along the way assures us that we are not alone, even when our path is not well lit. A chance meeting can make all the difference in becoming the person we know in our hearts. We stumble, and a hand gently guides us. We are grateful and gladdened by the knowledge. We continue on, more confident and serene. We see that we are connected to all things. We are one. This is Sangha. It is true not only for the monastic Sangha, but for the lay Sangha as well. To develop a strong spiritual practice, one needs the benefit of both monastics and lay people. MABA was born out of a desire to bring the Dharma to St. Louis, where Buddhists could practice under the guidance of monastics. To see firsthand how living a life dedicated to self-improvement, meditation, and service to benefit all beings is both joyful and meaningfully liberating. MABA is Sangha, the living embodiment of the Buddha. MABA does expound the holy life, both in its particulars and in its essence. Every week, every week during announcements, we talk about MABA cares, and that's Sangha. We have many people in our Sangha, as you can see. We have whatever need you may have, I should say. We can find someone. If you have a dog training issue, if you have an end-of-life question, if you have hospice questions, mental health issues, you don't have to suffer. You have a Sangha, MABA. It is us. If you need spiritual counseling, we have MABA. Just let us know. There's no shame in asking for help. We say that every week. And the Buddha's last words I wanted to leave you with. The Buddha said in the last bequest of the Buddha, all things are impermanent. Go forth and practice well. I thank you for joining me today, joining us here at MABA today. And I'll end with the 4 immeasurables. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings never be separated from the altruistic joy, which is free from suffering. And may all beings dwell in the great equanimity, which is free from attachment, aversion, and ignorance.